Hey folks, back with another video. Let's dive into what stories got my attention today. A terrorist attacked Kabul University. At least 22 students were killed when a gunman forced his way into the site. Now the attack has been claimed by ISIS, also commonly known as Daesh, and officials say that the gunman at the terrorist killed the gunman. Now, signs are that the gunmen shot every student they could, including those who were fleeing, despite the Daesh saying the target was a specific graduation. Now, the attack also coincided with a book fair, which a number of Iranian dignitaries were expected to attend. The Iranian ambassador Bahadur Aminian was scheduled to attend, along with 40 Iranian publishers. Officials say the casualties were overwhelmingly students. Now, Afghanistan has a, I believe, a long path to some kind of peace, as it has been completely destroyed. And with these terrorist attacks, that path becomes more difficult to continue going on, let's just say. Moving on from Afghanistan the to Vienna, Austria. Hundreds of police have been deployed across Vienna to search for suspects after a gunman opened fire at multiple locations in the city and killing at least 4 people and injuring 17. Now, one suspected attacker who was armed with an assault rifle was wearing a fake suicide vest and was shot by police. One suspected attacker who was Interior Minister Karl Nehammer told an early morning press conference on Tuesday that investigations indicated the man was a sympathizer of the extremist group, the Daesh. He added that more perpetrators may be on the run and urged citizens to stay home if possible. 2 men and 2 women have been confirmed dead. Health authorities cited by Austria's APA news agency also said 7 victims of the attack were in a critical, life-threatening condition in hospital. Now, my heart goes out to the victims, and I hope those who are in the hospital recover soon and they can go back to their family. I must say that I have confidence in the Austrian government in doing a thorough investigation to get to the bottom of this, and hope and as subsequently would punish whoever the perpetrators are to the maximum penalty that is available in the law. Moving on to the Paris, France. 4 people were arrested north of Paris on Tuesday in connection with last week's deadly knife attack in a church in Nice, a judicial source said. One of the people arrested, a 29-year-old Tunisian, was suspected of having been in contact with the attacker, the source said. The other 3 were in his home when police came to arrest him. Now, the 3 people were killed in the attack on Friday, which President Emmanuel Macron described as an act of Islamist terrorism, something I completely agree with. The main suspect, a 21-year-old Tunisian who had recently arrived in France via Italy, was shot 14 times by the police and hospitalized in a critical condition. Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said on Monday that he would be visiting Tunisia and Algeria later this week and Russia soon after to persuade those countries to accept the return of citizens with extremist views that France wanted to expel. France has also intensified a planned crackdown on Islamist activists after the attacks, with a big mosque in a Paris suburb and a prominent Islamic charity both closed down. Now, it is time that we start talking about what the Muslim community can do to weed out these bad people amongst them. And I think a open discussion and debate on this issue is long overdue. While I would say that the West has generally been accommodating to the Muslims, it is time that the Muslims recognize that they have to pay kindness with kindness and that they cannot allow any such people amongst them to continue to live in them, because ultimately they're not just a threat to the West, they're also a threat to the Muslims themselves. Moving on, the in in an interview with the German daily Welt, the UAE's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Anwar Gargash, rejected claims that the French president conveyed the intention of excluding Muslims. Quote, "We have to listen to what Macron in his speech really said. He does not want the isolation of Muslims in the West, and he is absolutely right," quote, he said. Now, in an interview with the German daily Welt, the UAE's minister with the claim, the Minister of State of Foreign Affairs, Gargash, claimed that the controversy was first the result of a political maneuvering by Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Meanwhile, Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed also voiced support for France in a phone call with Macron on Sunday, where he condemned the attacks in France, which he said contradict the teachings and principles of Islam. The French president told Al Jazeera that while his country would not back down in the face of violence and would defend the right to free expression, that did not mean that he or his officials supported the cartoons or that France was anti-Muslim. I completely agree with President Macron that the Western countries are not anti-Muslim. They have certain values that are sacrosanct. Quote, "I understand the sentiments being expressed and I respect them, but you must understand my role right now. It is to do two things: to promote calm and also to protect these rights," end quote, Macron said. He also added, quote, I will always defend in my country the freedom to speak, to write, to think, to draw." Now, Macron blamed distortion by some political leaders on leading people to believe that the French state was behind the cartoons. Macron said that his government would present a draft law aimed at strengthening secularism in the country against what he described as quote unquote Islamist separatism. Now, this is an important part of the Islamist terrorism that does not get touched a lot. And I think it is time that Muslim leaders break the taboo of not criticizing the radicals amongst them. I commend the UAE leadership of at least pushing against that thing. Now, I know that various Muslim countries supply Islamist radicals with weapons and finances, but I also believe that once we can start criticizing the ideology, then that would allow other dominoes to fall, and we may finally come to the final demise of this anti-humanist ideology that is festering amongst the Muslims. And hopefully we can purge this sooner rather than later. Moving on, in Uganda, the Ugandan police on Tuesday has again arrested Bobby Wine, a popular singer and opposition presidential hopeful, just after he was successfully certified as a candidate in the next year's election. Wine, who is bidding to unseat Uganda's long-time leader, was dragged from his car by police. A police spokesman did not immediately respond to questions. Now, authorities frequently accuse Wine of planning rallies that could disrupt public order, which he denies. Critics say that President Yoweri Museveni, who has been in power since 1986, has increasingly been dependent on the armed forces to assert his authority. which in my opinion is a bad move. Museveni, who was nominated as a candidate on Monday, said afterward that his government would not tolerate the activities of enemies. After Vine's arrest, there were skirmishes between his supporters and police outside his home on the outskirts of Kampala, the capital, and police fired tear gas into the property, according to Joel Signoni, a spokesman for Vine's People Power movement. Vine, who is 38, has captured the imagination of many Ugandans with his persistent calls for the 76-year-old Museveni to retire. He is especially popular with poor people in urban areas. Quote, "We now enter the most critical phase of our liberation struggle," end quote. Uh, this was tweeted by Vine after having his candidacy certified. Now, the Electoral Commission has not fixed a date for the polls. Vine and other opposition leaders have been frequently arrested in recent years, sometimes detained within their own homes by police, citing a need to prevent crimes from being committed. Now, these kinds of shenanigans will most likely backfire. This will definitely, this incident, coupled with the few in the past, will definitely fuel the opposition, and they can point to actual injustices. I I will be keeping an eye out on this story and see how it develops as time passes. Well, that's it for this video. If you like the video, then hit that like button and hit that subscribe button for future updates. Write in the comments your thoughts, criticisms, and anything I might have missed. And I will see you in the next video.